Should you get a used BMW 7 Series? Is it a smart buying decision, guys? Or is it one that is likely to make you broke? Let's discuss that. Now, I often get questions from people, and they're looking at a newer BMW 3 Series, something like a M340i, or they might be looking at a BMW 5 Series, something like a BMW 540i. Those prices put them very much within the reach of a 7 Series. And often a 7 Series that's not much older. And even funnier still is sometimes people out there are planning to buy a brand new Honda Accord or a sedan of that level, and they go out into the market and they see a used 7 Series that's asking for very similar prices. And they think, wow, this is one of the coolest cars out there. And obviously, right? I mean, we've seen the Transporter and, in pop culture and hip hop, a BMW 7 Series is a really cool car. Certainly cooler than the Benz S-Class. It's just a cooler thing to look at. No denying it. I'm not saying it's objectively better. I'm just saying it's a pretty cool car. But is it a smart decision? Let's start top down, guys. And let's start with the latest generation of the BMW 7 Series. And this generation came out in around 2022, and in most markets you'll be able to find this from 2023. If you buy this BMW 7 Series, first of all, you're paying eye-watering prices. In Australia, a 2025 BMW 7 Series is around $260,000 brand new, and it goes up all the way to $300,000 plus. If you buy something from this generation that came out in 2023, you're effectively looking at a car that's costing you $200,000. And you might think, that's great, right? I'm getting a car that's saving me $60,000, right? The previous owner took a $60K to upwards of $100K hit, and here I am getting in, and I've avoided the depreciation curve, and it's going to be fair play from here. And that's not reality, guys. You are at a very steep part of the curve, and by the time you're done with the car, depending on when you sell it, your car might be worth less than $100,000. And I'm an engineer, and I've got a Master of Business Administration, and I invest in stocks as well. And one thing I learned very early on in my investments is that, and this isn't financial advice, but something I learned generally is that when a stock is on a downwards trend, don't try to pick at it, right? Don't try to predict the bottom, because you don't know where that bottom is. Sometimes it's a very volatile, steep downward trend. And that's what it is. That's the case with the BMW 7 Series when you're buying one that's a couple of years old. The depreciation, yes, the original owner would have taken a great hit, but that car is just getting started. So that's my issue with that 7 Series. I don't see it make sense. If you want to own it forever and think the depreciation is going to be okay over 30 years or so, sure, but these cars, I would contend, are not cars you want to own forever. They're full of electrical gremlins. Yeah, they're just not mechanical enough. So that series, I would say, don't even think about it. The next one, the generation that came before, the 6th generation. Now for this BMW, this came out around 2015 and ran all the way to around 2022. And this car is interesting, and this generation is interesting because it certainly has some of the worst engine combinations, and that would be the N63 V8 twin turbo. And a word of warning, guys, for the BMW world, do not buy a V8 BMW. The N63, S63, S68 engines, even in later generations, guys, avoid them. But this generation does have the B58 straight 6 with the ZF8 transmission. And that is a match kind of made in heaven. Certainly the ZF8 transmission is one of the most reliable parts on any BMW in my view. Funny enough, it's not manufactured by BMW, right? It's a ZF, but it is a great balance of reliability and performance. And the B58 is indeed a great German motor, but the B58 is made of plastic. Ridiculous, copious amounts of plastic. If you buy one of these cars, they will be aging because it's the previous generation. You're not going to have a great track record with these guys. I know many owners with B58 cars that are consistently dealing with coolant issues and plastic issues, oil filter housing issues. These cars can be pretty terrible once the plastics start degrading, and this generation has some of the biggest reliance on plastic ever. But still, the B58 and the ZF Transmission 7 Series is the pick of the bunch, and you might say, look, I can manage the plastics. What else do I need to know? Well, what you need to know is that the engine and the gearbox isn't the biggest risk for this car. It's the air suspension and all the electronics. These cars, guys, remember the S-Class, the Audi A8, and the BMW 7 Series are known for being innovative cars. They're bringing that tech very early and very quickly front of line to the customers that want it. And these are risky technologies, right? You've got soft closed doors, and they're known to go wrong. Sunroof sensors and modules, they're known to go wrong. The physical sunroof itself, that'll go wrong. You've got all the lighting, and I know many friends with lighting issues in their BMWs in and out. And with these, the laser lights are so expensive to replace. You've got the electric seats, and with many electric functions. These cars, the luxuries and the tech, they bind you, and you have to be very wary. And the air suspension for German cars, guys, the air suspension has a life of around 100,000 kilometers. Anything after that is fair play. If you lose your air suspension, is fair play. Very expensive. And I know many owners who've had issues with their BMW air suspension. And quite early, in fact, they have had issues. And certainly, guys, it's not just BMW, it's Benz and it's Audi. And even the Lexuses, guys. The Lexuses have issues with air suspension. And that's going to cost you. These are very expensive parts. And the worst part is they're not very DIY-able, right? I speak to many owners. A lot of them are very well versed in BMWs and mechanical aspects. But I was speaking to a BMW mechanic, and he said to me, even he, and he's a good mechanic, right? He's a master tech, and he said even he wouldn't feel comfortable in Australia owning a 7 Series outside of warranty. And if he feels this way, I don't know what to tell the average Joe here on YouTube. A case can be made, despite that. If you're a DIY person, and I have many friends who live in Europe, and some are in Eastern Europe, and they love their BMWs, and because of shop rates, they can own these cars relatively cheaply, right? They know people who can fix them for cheap. It's really good out there in Europe. But even them guys, they're spending a lot of time, and for them, they're spending a lot of money. But that can work, and it can work in Australia, Canada, USA, perhaps, for a very DIY-minded person. If you have a lot of time, if you have great skills, then it can work. But overall, guys, in my view, the juice isn't worth the squeeze for the 7 Series. I mean, the 5 Series is big enough, is prestigious enough. I don't think anyone even looks to the 7 Series as a car that is the epitome of prestige, right? These are more chauffeur cars. If I see a 7 Series, I think who's being driven. If I see someone driving a 7 Series, half the time, I don't even think they own the car. So in my view, guys, the BMW 7 Series, new or used, is a massive avoid, despite being one of my favorite looking cars, despite myself having some of the most respect for people who own and run these cars. It's a no for me. I hope that helps. I'll catch you next time.